Have you ever sat in a room with someone who wasn't speaking and somehow felt like the silence was louder than words? Not the comfortable kind of silence, not the kind that exists between two people who feel safe together, the heavy kind, the kind that makes you wonder what's wrong, the kind that fills the room with questions. You look at them, they're still there, physically present, but emotionally, they seem somewhere else. Most people see the silent partner and immediately reach a conclusion. He's avoidant. He doesn't care. He's hiding something. He's checked out. Sometimes that's true, but not always, because silence isn't always a wall. Sometimes it's a shield. And today, I want to look at the silent partner through a different lens, not as a villain, not as someone withholding love, but as someone whose internal alarm system has been activated. Because for some people, when emotional stakes become too high, the brain doesn't argue. It doesn't explain, it doesn't defend itself, it disconnects. Most people are familiar with fight or flight. The body prepares for action, you defend yourself, or you escape. But there is a third option, one that feels less like a response and more like a trap. Freeze. Because some people don't run from conflict, and they don't fight through it. They become trapped inside it. When the nervous system becomes overwhelmed, it sometimes chooses neither attack nor escape. Communication slows, thoughts become foggy, words disappear, the system enters survival mode. This isn't a decision, it's a reaction. Think about a computer with too many programs running at once. Everything slows down, the screen freezes, the cursor stops moving, not because the computer is lazy, because it's overloaded. For some people, emotional conflict creates the same effect. Their mind becomes crowded, too many possibilities, too many consequences, too many things that could go wrong. And eventually, the system does the only thing it knows how to do. It powers down. The silence you see isn't emptiness, it's overload. Of course, if you're the one waiting for words, it's not what it feels like. It feels like rejection, it feels like distance, it feels like you're standing outside a locked door, knocking, while someone you love refuses to answer. And that's exhausting. But understanding why the door closed is the first step toward opening it. Because many silent partners didn't learn this behavior in adulthood. They learned it much earlier, in homes where emotions weren't welcome, in families where vulnerability was punished, in environments where speaking honestly made situations worse. Imagine growing up in a place where every emotional expression carried risk. Maybe anger led to conflict, maybe sadness was dismissed, maybe vulnerability was used against you. Over time, the nervous system learns something. Words are dangerous. Silence is safe. And eventually, this lesson becomes automatic. The calculation happens beneath awareness. If I speak, I might make this worse. If I stay silent, maybe I can survive it. So silence becomes protection. Not connection, protection. The problem is that what protects us as children often isolates us as adults. Years later, that same strategy appears during difficult conversations. Not because it's effective, because it's familiar. Because the nervous system trusts what it has practiced. This creates something many people describe but struggle to explain. The feeling of not recognizing yourself. You know you care. You know you want connection. You know you have thoughts, yet somehow when the moment arrives, everything disappears. The words don't come. The explanations don't come. The version of yourself you know internally never makes it into the room. You watch yourself becoming silent, and you don't fully understand why. I want you to think about the last time you went silent. Not what you said, what you were trying not to feel. Because silence is rarely hiding words. More often, it's hiding overwhelm. Then another pattern emerges. The partner on the other side notices the silence. Naturally, they try to fix it. What's wrong? Talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Help me understand. These are reasonable questions, often loving questions. But to the overwhelmed nervous system, they can feel like something else entirely. A spotlight, an interrogation, a microscope. Suddenly, the silent partner becomes aware that their silence is being observed, analyzed, measured. This is what I call emotional surveillance. Not because anyone is doing something wrong, because attention changes behavior. The more you watch for a sign of life, the more the silent partner feels exposed, and the deeper they retreat into the silence to stay safe. The pressure increases, the anxiety increases, and communication becomes even harder. The relationship enters a loop. One partner feels abandoned, the other feels cornered. Neither feels understood. This is where most couples make the same mistake. They assume silence can be solved with more words, more questions, more pressure, more urgency. But silence is rarely a language problem. It's a nervous system problem. And nervous systems don't respond well to force. You cannot pressure someone into feeling safe. You cannot interrogate someone into opening up. The harder you pull, the more resistance appears. The harder you push, the further they retreat. Because the goal of the nervous system is survival, not communication. Communication only returns when survival no longer feels necessary, which means the solution is often the opposite of what people expect. Less pressure, less urgency, less emotional heat, more safety. So, what actually helps? Usually not another conversation, usually another environment. Think about how many meaningful conversations happen while driving, walking, cooking, watching something together, looking out a window, working on a project. Activities where talking isn't the main event. Because when direct attention decreases, pressure decreases. And when pressure decreases, expression often increases. This is why side by side connection can be so powerful. Not every truth wants to emerge under a spotlight. Sometimes honesty arrives when nobody is demanding it. The goal isn't perfect communication, the goal is honest proximity. Two people sharing space without demanding immediate clarity, allowing words to arrive when they're ready, not when anxiety demands them. Because most silent partners aren't hiding a secret. They're trying to find language for something they haven't fully understood themselves, and that process takes time. The truth is, silence isn't the absence of communication. It's a form of communication, an imperfect one, a frustrating one, but a meaningful one. It's the nervous system saying, I am overwhelmed. I don't know how to process this. I don't know what to say. And right now, survival feels easier than expression. The loudest thing in a room is often the thing that can't be said. Sometimes silence isn't the absence of connection, it's a nervous system asking for safety before it asks for understanding. So, before you assume silence means indifference, consider another possibility. Maybe the person across from you isn't withholding their feelings, maybe they're trapped behind them, and if you've ever been the silent partner, tell me in the comments. What was happening inside your head that you couldn't put into words?